this is Gilbert Gottfried, and you're listening to What's So Funny on CFRO 102.7 FM, and it's also on podcast in iTunes. But I wouldn't pay attention to the show on anything it's on. If it was right in front of me, I wouldn't be listening or watching or paying attention.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of What's So Funny, the show that probes the minds, the brains, the psyches of the people who make the funny. Tonight's guest's first big break was on Saturday Night Live. When that went in the toilet, he hitched his wagon to the Alan Thicke craze that was sweeping the nation. From there, he went on to star in such blockbusters as Look Who's Talking 2, Problem Child 2, House Party 3, and the acclaimed made-for-television masterpiece, Saved by the Bell Wedding in Las Vegas. He's also achieved great renown for his commercial work as the Aflac Duck, which has since died. And now, to put the final nail in the coffin of his career, he joins us on What's So Funny. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Gilbert Gottfried. Wow, Gilbert Gottfried. In Vancouver, in person.
Will that be edited? Yeah. Oh, damn it. I thought you could edit that. Jeez. We agreed you'd edit that.
Yeah, but now we're talking about it. Now we have to do it.
Oh, because they won't know what we're referring to.
That's right. I could try it.
Oh, see, now I'll be doing that the whole show and no one. Yeah.
So, Gilbert, nice to have you here. I haven't heard you. I know you recently did Penn Jillette's podcast.
Oh, yes.
And the Twitter critics agree, hilarious.
And who are the Twitter critics?
The people on your feed who said they couldn't work out because they were laughing too hard.
Right? or because they're fat and they sit around all day looking at the computer rather than just getting up and walking from one side of the room to the other.
Yeah,
that could be the reason that they couldn't work out.
But you had a good time. I haven't heard it yet.
Yes. I also did something with Richard Belzer that was on the Intelligence Channel, if that airs anywhere.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a thing. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's on cable or if it's on the web.
So is it TV?
I have no idea. They had a camera there, and they were filming us, but I have no idea what we were doing. But I was on the thing with Penn Jillette, if people out here recognize where he is.
We don't know where he is. But, he's in Las Vegas, but his podcast.
Yeah, the podcast.
And in fact, Penn and Teller are coming to Vancouver soon. So, yeah. And you go way back with him, don't you?
Yes, from our early vaudeville days where Eddie Cantor would open up.
The Mad Russian?
Yes.
I'm going to get your references.
Yes, Park Your Carcass used to work with us. And Wheeler and Woolsey.
Oh, you got me there.
Yeah. There was a group.
That was a thing?
There was a comedy team, Wheeler and Woolsey. Many years ago.
So vaudeville era.
Yeah, yes.
Why don't I know them?
I don't know.
But they have recordings?
Well, I think they did like a handful of films. They never really went anywhere. They never went the way of Marx Brothers or Abbott and Costello or some.
They didn't have a signature bit.
Yeah. I have no idea.
But how did you hear them?
I've seen clips of them. And read stuff here and there about them, and it's like, see, I remember growing up when I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, and like the best film school in the country was in your living room because it was like everything was on TV back then.
On the 3 channels.
Yeah, there'd be 3 channels, but they'd all have these old movies and stuff. They'd be monster movies, gangster films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we all watched the same things too, right? So you could talk about it. You would say Wheeler and Woolsey or whatever their names are, and people would know.
Some obscure movie like that would pop up, that no one ever heard of. And then the next day at school, of course there were like 3 channels. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody saw whatever was on last night.
Yeah. And now it's so fractured. You do something and, 100,000 people are huge fans and they know about it, and the rest of the population, what? I have no idea what you're talking about or who this person is.
And it's like back then on TV, if you were in a crowd scene and they showed the back of your head for half a second, you were a big star.
Yeah, in the neighborhood.
And it's like now you could be on 50 shows all in one night, and nobody will know about you because there's like a few thousand.
Yeah. So you bridge the gap, though.
Yes.
Right? From the old school to the new school, people know who you are. You agree with that?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I agree because you pointed at me in a threatening manner. So I will agree because I could be intimidated very easily.
Walking down the street, do you get recognized a lot?
Yeah, and that's why they fling garbage at me. It's
that guy.
Yeah, it happens.
Did you? You've played Vancouver before. I interviewed you over the phone for that. I don't know how many years ago that was. 4 or 5? Maybe?
I totally lose track of where I've worked. It's like I'll go to a club and I'll go, I've never been to this city before, and I certainly have never been to this club. And then I show up, and I look at the wall, and I see I've autographed the wall. And so I go, okay, now I remember. This was about 20 years ago I worked here. And they go, no, you were here in July.
Well, that might underscore another problem.
Yes, yeah, I am going senile.
Yes, it happens to the best of us.
Yes.
But
so it won't happen to me, in other words, if it only happens to the best of us. I'll be perfectly healthy. I'll live to be 1,000.
So you have no recollection of being here a few years ago?
No, I remember.
What city are you in right now?
What?
What city are you in?
I'm in Vancouver.
Okay.
But you know something? I know I've been to Vancouver a bunch of times. I've worked plenty clubs and colleges and stuff, but I have no idea where or when.
You just go from the airport to the hotel to the club and home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And I was in Vancouver, I remember for a fact, because this was years ago, and that was I was in Look Who's Talking 2.
Oh, don't brag.
Yeah, well, I just do that to get laid. I was in Look Who's Talking 2.
Filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah, 25 years ago or so.
Was it that long?
I don't know when that was out. If any of you have a computer, run to it now.
It's on Google now. Yeah.
Here's something else that's changed drastically. On the radio, there used to be a thing, if they were giving away tickets or prizes, they'd say, okay, here's the question. The first one who calls us with the right answer, and that used to be a contest. Nowadays, it's like you could ask any question, and it's who's got the best computer.
That's right. It's not fair. How could you bypass that?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It would have to be, you would have to share some personal information. No, but then just your friends and family would call in.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Do you want to share something with us that is not on the internet, that nobody knows?
I have a 27-inch penis. Yeah.
Wow.
I dress to hide it, but
it's almost as tall as you. Oh. So the early days, I know you started when you were 15.
Yes.
That is crazy. You must have been horrible.
No, I'm horrible now. Back then, I actually had some good
Really?
jokes.
No, I just think of 15-year-olds. I know you did a lot of voices, right? early on.
Yeah, I did a lot of imitations where I was doing like Lugosi and Humphrey Bogart, proving that even back then my act was dated.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, but we all just saw those classic movies on TV all the time.
Yeah, they
That's
were
right.
on all the time. So these people were like fresh and new to us.
Bela Lugosi. Do you still do those voices?
I still do those voices. And
You're kind of like Rich Little,
thank you. Yes.
who's still doing John Wayne, Cary Grant.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So you come out and you do some Bela Lugosi, and
Yeah.
and the crowd sits and stares.
And tonight I'll come up and go, Judy, Judy, Judy. And it'll be like, oh, okay. I guess that's someone who was in movies at one time. I don't know.
And he never said that, apparently.
Yeah, he never said that. And James Cagney never said, you dirty rat.
You dirty rat.
And
I don't do impressions.
also, here's one. I'll sometimes even do this line in my act, and the way he says it in the movie is different, but I forget how it's actually told. And that's Alfonso Bedoya, which is a name that I use also to get laid, because, you tell a girl that the actor's name was Alfonso Bedoya, forget it.
Wow.
And he was the bandit in Treasure of Sierra Madre, who says, "Bajies, we don't need no stinking bajies." And now I think it's different in the movie how he says it.
No, so you think it's different, but that form has become so popular, right? Whenever somebody does a Hispanic character, we don't need no stinking whatever it is.
Oh, yes.
So you're saying that in the movie he didn't quite say it like that.
I think it's worded differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should go back and watch that.
It's just like there's like there's a few like that. Humphrey Bogart never said play it again, Sam.
Yeah, he said you played it for her. Play it, Sam.
Play it for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Play it, Sam.
Play it, Sam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few like that. That's all I can think of, though.
Yeah, there's been, Lugosi never said, I want to suck your blood. That was totally something that somebody made up along the way, and that's been totally like he said that.
Yeah, do you do Christopher Walken? He's the guy now that everybody does.
I know, it's become very weird. Yeah, everyone does I remember I was watching Saturday Night Live, and they did some sketch with Christopher Walken where everybody else, it's supposed to be he's visiting his family, and everyone is doing a Christopher Walken imitation. And I remember when I watched that, I thought, this is when they're officially out of ideas. Like, let's get the real person and a person imitating them and have them talk to each other, because we really can't think of anything else to do.
They've been out of ideas for a long time now.
Yeah. See, the bad thing about Saturday Night Live is I was on it during one of their worst seasons.
I remember.
Oh, yes.
I'm one of the few. You say nobody remembers because, younger people, I guess, don't. But
Yes.
I remember. Yeah, it was not a good season.
It was a horrible season. And the bad thing is now sometimes I'll watch Saturday Night Live and I'll think, this sucks. But I can't go, see, now if that were me, if I were, because I was there and I sucked. So
Back in our day, I'll tell you. Tell me your cast.
Okay.
You were there for one season.
I know the cast. Do you know the cast?
Well, I know.
Or call in right now if you know the cast.
Operators are standing by. There was Joe Piscopo.
Yes.
There was the woman from SCTV.
No,
Robin.
No,
Duke?
she came later.
She came later. Okay, there was the guy from SCTV.
No, also there was
what was his name?
You think of Joe Rosato?
Yeah, ended up in jail.
He did?
Yeah, in Alberta or something.
Oh, tell me about this.
It's just a vague memory. Google it.
Yeah. Could somebody Google and call in now, even though we're not on the air right this second? Wait. So he's in jail? Was it?
Well, this was now maybe 5 or 10 years ago that I read this.
Now, there was another...
He's a Canadian guy, so it was up here.
There was another actress, but her father was in jail from a recent season. Was it like Patty something? I'm thinking Patty Duke. It wasn't that. The one who used to do the Barbara Walters imitation.
That was Gilda Radner.
No.
She
This
did.
was later on.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
She wasn't Baba Wawa. That was
I stopped
Gilda
after
Radner.
your season. There was no point in watching.
Yes. This was, I forget her name, but she did also Barbara when they do a takeoff on The View. And I think her father's in jail for murder.
Yeah.
But Tony Rosato.
Tony.
Was it. Tony Rosato.
Yeah, it's
he's
in Ontario,
jail?
or he was. He fell on hard times.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay, give me a hint. There's Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
And Joe Piscopo. I said him.
Those are the names everyone would remember.
How many were there, by the way?
Okay.
Because now there's a cast of like 25.
Well, yeah. And also, that was another thing that changed, aside from the size of the cast, was like, when I got in it, it was like an outrage that they were going to continue the show without the original people. How could you do that? That was like continuing the Beatles with 4 different people and saying, well, these are the Beatles now. and it's like now the cast seems to change in between commercial breaks.
That's
it doesn't matter. And also...
So you followed the original cast?
Yes.
You were the...
Yes.
Okay.
And okay, so but the other people in it... And this would be really bad if I forgot their names.
Give me a hint. I'll tell you their names.
Oh, all right. One did the news on my season.
Male.
Yes. Very good.
That wasn't... had a 50-50 shot. Charles Rocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I liked him, you know, and then he got fired like a couple shows in.
Well, it was a funny thing there.
So this was 1980 when John Lennon was murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was right before that.
Yeah, and
I remember
we were responsible, but that's a whole other...
No, but he went... One of his field pieces was outside their apartment.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Tony Rosato shot John Lennon. I'm not positive.
That's why.
But Rocket got in trouble on the show because we were doing a sketch that was a takeoff on, I think it was Dallas, was doing their Who Shot JR episode. And so we were doing, it was supposed to be that Charlie Rocket gets shot, and it's Who Shot CR. And then at the end of the show, where it's like that really clumsy Saturday Night Live clumsiness, where the host is there going, so, had a great time. Terrific cast. Hey, Betty, you go to sleep now. And, all that clumsiness.
Yeah.
And so they told us to stretch, which is horrible. And so they said to Rocket, stretch. And he said... Well, I just want to say I've never been shot before, and I'd like to find out who the fuck did it. And this became an outrage.
Yeah.
And
even though it was on at 1 a.m.
Exactly. And the word fuck had been said on the original show.
Oh, had it?
It slipped out on the original show. But the ratings were better for that show, so no one heard it. But now, since they didn't like this season, they heard it. And so
that's showbiz.
What?
That's showbiz, right?
Yeah. So
if they like you, it's okay.
And then it was like said that, and because of that, everyone's getting fired from the show, which made no sense, because you would fire the one person who said it. But they were using...
It wasn't scripted?
Yeah. And so they were, fired like the rest of the cast and the writers and everything, because that became a good excuse. And then they said Charlie Rocket, after that, he never worked again. But he always worked.
Did he?
Yeah, he was in.
You saw the back of his head in a crowd.
Yes, he was on an episode of Bonanza. No, he popped up in a lot of movies and TV shows.
Yeah, because I liked him on the show.
Yeah, he was in Dumb and Dumber. He had a big part, and then Dances with Wolves, and he popped up on TV shows, and he wound up ending himself.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Did I know that?
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago.
That's too bad.
Yeah, that was scary.
And he was replaced by Gail.
No. He also on the show.
In the news, he was replaced by Gail.
No. She was on the news, but she was on the same season as us.
Right,
so,
but he was fired midway through, right?
No. We all got fired at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And there was Gail Mathias.
I liked her too.
Yeah, and she was the first time I heard the Valley Girl accent.
That's right.
I had never heard.
As we're going over this, I think your cast was pretty good.
The what?
As we're talking about it, I think your cast was pretty good.
And then there was let's see, Anne Risley was another one.
Anne Risley.
Yeah.
Was she on Moonlighting later?
No. Who was actually, surprisingly enough, Charlie Rocket popped up on Moonlighting as Bruce Willis's brother in a couple of episodes.
Oh, I could see that. But the woman who played the secretary.
No. She. I don't know if she was on Moonlighting, but she popped up on a few TV shows. Her name was Denny Dillon.
Denny Dillon. She was on Moonlighting, yeah.
Yes. And she was in this early HBO show, like I think it was Dream On. I think she was like a secretary on that. She played.
Yeah. And so is that it? How many is that?
Okay, now we got to count. Okay, so it's me, Charlie Rocket, Piscopo Murphy, that's 4 guys, and 3 girls. I would say that's 7.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you got that gig, 1980, you had been doing stand-up for 5-10 years?
Oh, I probably longer. I don't know. It was yeah.
Just in New York?
Yeah, I'd been even longer. I'd been in New York. Then I think I had already I'd been out to L.A. a few times, and then I would do both of those clubs whenever I was there. I'd do the Improv and the Comedy Store, and everyone thought it was miraculous that I did both clubs because there was a big rivalry, but somehow I did it.
That was before the strike?
Oh, yeah. I was there before and after the strike, and then it was I remember when I was in L.A., I couldn't drive, so I was be walking. I'd walk the distance from here to New York and back to go to these clubs. It was pretty insane.
Yeah, in L.A. nobody does that.
Yeah.
Except for comics who can't afford cars. So then you got the job on Saturday Night Live, and you must have thought, here it is. I'm in the money.
Surprisingly, I sang I'm in the Money and a bunch of other old songs from Busby Berkeley musicals.
And then did some choreographed swimming.
Oh, yes. And and Esther Williams was on my season. And it's very weird when I hear stories from people who auditioned for the show, and they talk about how horrible it was up in the offices or at the clubs auditioning, and how they were nervous wrecks, and they were looking at the other people in the room, hating them. And I don't know why, but when I was doing the auditions for Saturday Night Live, I didn't even feel that way. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel in competition. And when I found out I got the show, I wasn't overjoyed with it. And when I lost the show, I wasn't devastated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you didn't feel oh, my career's over?
I felt that, but I feel that
You always
way.
feel that way.
I feel that way every day of my life. But
It's been over a few times over the course of your career. Yeah.
Well, you know what I love, because I've been on the news as Gilbert Gottfried's career is over, and the irony to that, and what always makes me laugh, is if the media says your career is over, it's proof that your career's not over, or they wouldn't be doing a story about you.
As long as they're still talking about you.
Yeah, it's like you never hear on the news or in the papers, like, you know that season of Dukes of Hazzard where the two stars went on strike and they got those other two guys as replacement? Well, those other two guys' careers are over. Our top story tonight.
Yeah.
You know, they will say, Tom Cruise's career is over, because it's obviously not.
But at the time when they fired you guys, that made the papers.
Oh, it made the papers.
There was rejoicing across the nation.
I indulge in masturbation, but I don't know what that has to do with the show. But I remember when I got fired from there, I was, which shows that they were ahead of the curve by firing me, because then it just became a fad. But when I got fired, I remember for a couple of years after that, thinking that everybody was staring at me, looking at me as, oh, there's that guy who was on that horrible season of Saturday Night Live. And what you soon realize is it's like these movies with cavemen fighting dinosaurs. There were like a few 100 million years between the cavemen and the dinosaurs, but it all gets, thrown together.
Right.
And so you could do a movie with like, Kennedy talking to Abraham Lincoln. And people go, oh, yeah, that's right, because they were both from years ago. It blends. So it's like
history.
Yeah. So it's like I could go, oh, yeah. I was on the season. I did that sketch with Jimmy Fallon and John Belushi. And they'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that.
You can't get me on that, though.
Yeah.
Because I will catch you.
Yes, because you know that it wasn't Jimmy Fallon and it was Robin Duke.
Yeah, so there have been some reunions of Saturday Night Live over the years.
Yes.
So they invite all the cast, but there have been some people who weren't invited, right?
I don't know if I've heard of any not invited. I went to like one reunion. They had one big reunion. They were filming it and everything. And
50th year. 50th year.
Yeah. And whenever it's times like that, to this day, see, this is the thing with Saturday Night Live. And it's the same thing with the Johnny Carson show is like that too. People remember like these people who were on it for like 1 minute, and from then on, that made them stars. And you forget about the millions of people who were on it a bunch of times over the years and have disappeared.
Yeah. You remember the hits and forget the misses.
Exactly. And whenever there's like an article in the paper or in a magazine, they'll do, looking back on Saturday Night Live. The first page I turn to is the whatever became of pages. And I always just check to make sure my name's not on that list. And then I can relax.
Yeah.
Because there's like a few million people who've been on Saturday Night Live who, God knows, I don't remember their names, and I don't remember whatever happened to them. We know what happened to Tony Rosado.
No, that's so sad.
He wound up getting
Charles Rocket even.
Getting ass raped, I think.
Who knows? I'd love to have him on the show if you're listening, Tony.
Yes, but make sure you put an inner tube on the chair because he may have been.
Talking about Johnny Carson, there was... Yes. Did you ever do his show?
No, never did Carson show.
But there is that myth of Carson, whether he gives the okay sign or come over to the couch. And I always think, well, he can't invite you to the couch if there's no time left, if they've got to go to commercial.
That was always
but if they need to stretch, come and sit on the couch.
Yeah. And what I remember in the comedy clubs that used to drive me out of my mind, and I also thought it was there's something real just plain douchey about it. Whenever one of the comics from the clubs would be appearing on The Tonight Show with Carson, when you'd go into the club and they'd have the TV screen up on the bar and all the comics and waitresses would be huddled around it. And it's like when the comic would go on, they'd be like, if the camera would flash back to Carson and he'd like kind of scratch the side of his face or adjust his tie, they'd go, oh, you see what he did? Like this is some magical thing.
He likes him.
Yeah. This proves that he loves him and he's going to be a big hit. And a lot of them just after that disappeared.
Yeah. But again, we forget about them.
Yeah.
In your book, you mentioned
Rubber Balls and Liquor.
Rubber Balls and Liquor. That's the name of the book.
Yes.
Not a directive to me. You mentioned a comedian that I don't know her, and you said Google it, and then the next sentence was, yes, that's her, I hated her. Maureen Murphy.
Yes.
She was on like every other week.
Yeah.
And whatever happened to her?
Well, I forget which name she had first, but she was also Daphne Davis.
Yeah, that's the one I don't remember,
Yeah.
but I remember Maureen Murphy.
So she went on for years as Maureen Murphy, and then I guess to freshen her act up a little, she changed it to Daphne Davis. And there was always rumors, and I don't know if this is true, that Carson was nailing her or something. Or maybe this is a rumor that got started because people saw her and said, why is she on the show? You know?
Exactly. But then how does that explain Bobby Kelton? And then there were others. There was Kelly Monteith, who went on to have a nice career in England. But he was on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Guys like that aren't on the specials of, wow, they're on Carson. And so he made them.
Yeah, there's like about 3 people you could name. There's like, Freddie Prinze, and now I have a hard time thinking of others. I know that Freddie Prinze was one. Like, he did it, and like, boom, he was a star. But the others, they've been on it like, 20 billion times.
Yeah, and in reading Steve Martin's book, he talks about it wasn't until like his 20th time on The Tonight Show that it took.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'd been on lots, right? So it wasn't like, here he's coming on, a new guy. Drew Carey's another one that really hit from his first appearance.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. We're talking with Gilbert Gottfried. The show's What's So Funny on CFRO 102.7 FM. And
the answer is not Gilbert Gottfried.
No. And we're on podcast 2, and Gilbert's book is Rubber Balls and Liquor. It is. I have a copy of it.
Yes, and my DVD is Dirty Jokes, and my website's gilbertgottfried.com, which I thought of myself.
That's good.
And my Twitter account is @RealGilbert.
Okay, that is you. That is the real Gilbert.
Yes.
Okay, good. And Gilbert is in town now, probably 3 weeks ago, playing the new Yuck Yucks and we're sitting here in the new Yuck Yucks. Nobody's here. What do you think of the room?
Yes, and I should tell the audience that I'm sitting here. This is during my show.
Yeah.
And that's why the place is empty.
We have a live audience.
Yes.
They're enwrapped. No, but somebody, I said Gilbert Gottfried's playing in town and playing at Yuck Yucks. And they said, well, I would have thought he would have played a huge theater. You're so famous.
Yes, I will be playing a huge theater when I do Joseph and His Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Cats is here this Saturday.
Who is here?
Cats.
Cats.
Not Jonathan, no, the musical. Yeah. So anyway, did you ever play here in the early days? And you don't remember where you played?
Yeah. I played, one of my first gigs out of town when I was still kind of scared to go out of town. and that was by out of town, like to a. It's funny. I don't even think of Toronto especially as another country, but it's like I played the Yuck Yucks in Toronto, this downtown club they
Early
had
in
there.
your career, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not here.
Yes.
By here, I mean Vancouver.
Yes.
Did you make it this far?
Yes. Well, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Did you come to Vancouver, in the 70s, say, or early 80s?
Yeah. I think so. I
Yeah,
lose track
again,
of where
you don't
was.
know.
I don't know.
You weren't on the Alan Thicke show or anything?
Yes.
No, that's in the American version. He started here in Vancouver.
Yes.
That's right. You were. I
is-
forgot about that. You were his sidekick?
No. We were among his resident cast of zanies.
Oh, that's it.
And me and Richard Belzer and a few other people who. Yeah, that's what I'd like to remember.
You can't remember.
Yeah.
So you stay in touch with anyone from the old days?
What I remember about the Alan Thicke show is, well, first they were advertising it as the show that was going to knock Carson off the air. And Carson's off the air now. So he was right. And but that they had one of their sponsors, this is true, was for a sanitary napkin. And they said how like it's a thin and very absorbent. And their slogan for this sanitary napkin, and it would run during the Thicke show, was, once you try it, you'll never go back to Thicke.
No.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you thought you're going to be part of the cast? You're going to be like the Mighty Carson art players.
Yeah, you're going to be part of the cast. And you're going to be on the show and be like the Mighty Carson art players. And it's just going to have a bunch of resident cast of zanies. And
What did you think of the show?
Yeah. It was, it made Saturday Night Live look good. It was,
So one career choice to another. But I mean, when he did the national show in Canada, it was on at 12 in the afternoon.
yes.
But it was a nighttime type talk show, and he was really good on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that face you give me. Oh yeah, really? I don't buy it. So starting at 15, were you like? Because you say anything on stage, you're outrageous, But I sense you're a shy kind of guy in real life, right? Is that incorrect?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
that is true. So at 15, were you the cut up in school, or were you a little celebrity in your school?
I as much as a kid, I already started doing imitations and joking around and
Being annoying.
being very annoying, and watching all the TV shows and movies and trying. And I mean, when I was a kid, I memorized the entire Dracula, like the Lugosi Dracula I had, and I remember. There's even in the book I put this story. Like, I remember that in elementary school, they were playing a game where the teacher would say, I'm going to give you 2 letters and you name a famous person with these letters. And, so they'd say FS, and someone would go, oh, Frank Sinatra, that. And they said OS, and I said Onslow Stevens. And he played the Mad Doctor in House of Dracula. And I was the only little kid who knew that. Most adults didn't know. But where was I headed with this? So
Were you the...
the class. I always feel like the class clowns wound up being those guys that come up to you after the show and go, everybody says I should go into comedy. Mm-hmm. Everyone, I'm the funniest guy in my office.
And so you're saying that they don't translate well to stage?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got the impression that that was Joe Piscopo.
Maybe.
He's that kind of guy. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
because some of them do achieve a level of success. They try it out and they're able to get laughs somehow, right? But,
Oh, yeah.
but they're not any good, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were still kind of quiet, but did your classmates know you were out performing stand-up comedy?
Well, I was going to school less and less.
Oh, did you graduate?
Yeah. No, I didn't even
Is
graduate.
that on the internet? Maybe that's the fact.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's
maybe
on the internet?
That's yeah. I think that'll be on. Everything's on the
Come
internet.
on, you got to give me something.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't.
Besides your
Yeah.
27-inch penis.
Yeah. You can't find anything that's not on the internet.
Is it all right? I mean, is it all true?
Not all true. I mean, it gets so it's everything. It's because anybody could put anything up there.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the internet. Anything. It's just like, at first when you hear these rumors like so and so in the business is gay, and you go, oh, that's like I heard, and then you realize every single famous person they've already said is gay. So after a while, you go, well, how do I know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it is show business, so
Yes.
good chance. So who did you start out with? Who are the comics that you were coming up with in New York at the clubs?
Well, I remember when I was hanging out at like Catch a Rising Star and the Improv, both gone in New York, but there was, Jerry Seinfeld was there, and Paul Reiser and Bill Maher and
Okay, Larry Miller.
yeah, Larry Miller, Dennis Miller, and then I remember when the times I'd go out to L.A., Jim Carrey was still working the clubs, and he would be, he also did like mainly imitations early on.
A lot of mugging.
Oh yeah, and thank God that's changed.
He's really settled down. Hey,
Is he out of his mind?
for example.
Well, I don't mean out of his mind like Ace Ventura.
Right.
Out of his mind.
Well, he's a billionaire, probably, so
yes.
that's got to
affect you.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And
And for a while he was going out with the woman who cured autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. The Playboy Playmate who cured autism.
Yes. And I trusted her because I thought, hey, I jerked off to pictures of her. She must know about autism.
Yeah. Where were we? We were talking about who
that
you
was
came up with.
Professor Jenny McCarthy.
Yes, that's it. When were you the first to do a Seinfeld impression?
Yeah.
Because everyone does it now, but based on your impression, I think.
Yeah, I used to do a Seinfeld. Sometimes I imitate the other comics, just to entertain the other comics
Right.
and the bartenders and waitstaff, and the audience would be scratching their heads, and the comics would be in back of the room cracking up, and I used to do Jerry Seinfeld back at a time when the club owners were saying to me, why don't you do people that people know?
Right, because he wasn't a household name at that point.
Yeah, he was just another comic at the clubs. And so when I would be doing Seinfeld, the comics would be in the back of the room and the waitresses all cracking up. And Seinfeld would stay in the bar. He wouldn't come in when I was doing that. And he'd be walking back and forth in the bar angrily going, why do they think that sounds like me? That doesn't sound anything like me. He does me in some kind of sing-song voice, and I don't talk that way.
Dude, Jerry Seinfeld talking to Alan Thicke. They're kind of close.
Yeah. Hi, Alan. Hey, Jerry.
Okay, there we go. Did you do other obscure comics that
I did, and no, some of them stayed obscure.
Oh, okay.
So you won't know how good I am at doing.
All right. No, I impressions get a bad rap, I think. I mean, the key is you got to be funny with them, and I guess a lot of impressionists just come out and show off that they can sound like somebody and forget to make it funny, and that's the key.
Oh, you know what else is odd? It's like on like Saturday Night Live and other shows like that, they're, all the people there do impressions. And they'll do a lot of them do really good impressions of current stars and whatnot. But the idea of the impressionist, that went out years ago. Like the guy who would go on a variety show or on the Tonight Show and go, hey, if it was John Wayne, it might go something like this. And then turn around, adjust his collar, and move his shoulders around and come back. Yeah. That, those guys are all gone. Like there was Rich Little, Frank Gorshin, George Kirby.
Fred Travalena.
Fred Travalena. There were a few others like that.
Who else we got?
Yeah.
There was the show The Copycats, of course, was great.
Yeah. David Fry.
Oh, yeah, David Fry.
Who invented the Nixon imitation.
And that's all.
Yeah.
Nixon.
But, all those. So the idea of just like ventriloquists, maybe at a kid's birthday party, they'll still be ventriloquists. But as far as going on TV, those guys are gone.
Well, who's that guy? He's huge now.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff.
With Peanut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff.
He is.
Somebody. The problem with ventriloquists is they don't give a mic to the dummy, and I lose it.
Yes.
He needs to be committed to the character. If that dummy's talking, I need to know. I wouldn't hear him if he didn't have a mic.
And there's a big ventriloquist, I forget his name, in Vegas. But it's funny, Vegas is like another country. Vegas is a place where people could be the biggest star in Vegas and make like trillions.
Yeah.
And they're not known one step outside of Vegas.
But isn't that great, though?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great way to have a career because then you can go places and people don't bother you, except for in Nevada.
Yeah.
And still be rich.
And there are these guys that nobody outside of Vegas knows, but they're like richer than the biggest celebrities that you do know.
Yeah, exactly. So after Saturday Night Live, is that when your persona changed or you came up with what you are now? I remember seeing you in about 86 going on.
Yeah, that's a sexual position nobody knows about. We did an 86.
Yeah. Well, and you were doing probably 5 minutes on wanting to buy something moist.
Yeah, trust me. There is stuff in my act that you'll see tonight that, I love when people come up to me and say, oh, this was years ago that I saw you, back when you were doing, and I think, I still do that bit.
And why not, really?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes during my show, people will look at each other and go, who's he talking about? It's like...
but you started squinting, closing your eyes.
Well, the funny thing is like, when people say, how did you develop your delivery and personality? I always think, to me, it's like just your personality and the way you talk and the way you move around just in your day-to-day life. Asking someone, when did you develop that? It's like that to me was the case. It's like to me, I feel like one day I woke up and said, oh, I've been doing my delivery like this for a while. And I never actually sat down ever and thought, okay, I'm going to work on this.
So it was an exaggeration of what you had been doing before?
Maybe. Yeah. I never actually sat down and...
it just came out one day.
Yeah.
It's an evolution. So your early days doing stand-up, and I saw some pictures in the book, and you were a Christ figure on stage, or you were...
Oh, yeah.
Doing the Sieg Heil salute. I don't know what stage of that career.
Yeah, see, I was doing Christ and Hitler jokes, and I still do. So, yeah. Because I like to be contemporary. And...
2,000-year-old references.
What I remember with the one in the book, one of my Jesus jokes that got so outdated that even I had to give that particular one a rest, was They used to be this commercial, I think, for American Express, where a celebrity would go, "Hi, I'm so and so, but when I just go out in public, nobody knows me. That's why I carry this." And so I used to do this thing where I come out with a long stick and go, "Hi, I'm Jesus Christ." But when I'm in a restaurant, no one recognizes me. And then I put it up like, his arms on a cross.
Right.
And I go, "That's why I carry this."
So you'd carry that prop around with you?
Yes. And eventually I realized, boy, that commercial's been off the air for 30 years. Maybe it's time to realize it's dated.
And then you sort of morphed into telling these dirty jokes.
Well, the funny thing is I always like to tell. I mean, even in my beginning days, sometimes if I was just screwing around, I'd run up and tell a bunch of dirty jokes, and but then I
street
decided,
jokes.
What?
Street jokes, right?
Oh yeah. And then I decided. Later on, I started, because I came out with the Dirty Joke DVD, and then I started ending the show with it. And then between the Dirty Joke DVD and the film The Aristocrats, now people expect me to tell dirty jokes.
And where do you get them? Have you ever made one up?
I've not like an out-and-out joke.
Yeah, like a jokey joke.
Yeah, like guy goes to a doctor kind of. I don't know where it's so strange. I don't know where these jokes come from, but they somehow get invented. They go all over the world, and no one knows where they started.
And I guess because you're now the guy who tells these dirty jokes, people are always coming up to you and telling you them.
Oh, yeah, and the worst thing is it's usually people who don't know how to tell a joke. And so if it's a joke you could tell in 2 lines, if you know what you're doing, they spend an hour and a half going, so he comes back the next day and he says, "Okay, here's $2. And then he says, "No, you can't go there." And he goes back to his home, thinks about it, comes back and it's like it goes on for like a month. In a joke that could have been said in 3 words.
But see, you do add your own twist to all the jokes, right?
Oh, yes.
You make them your own. And so if somebody told you a ham-handed kind of roundabout way of telling a joke, you could understand what the funny there is and use it on stage.
One good thing that a lot of people said about the DVD was that they said that what they liked about it, they enjoyed me telling the jokes, but they enjoyed more when I would just start going off into just commenting on what joke I just told or something.
Yeah. But everyone enjoys a joke.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, most of us, me included, have no ability to tell a joke. And there's no reason for it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. It's like in your day-to-day life.
But I can't do it. I hear them, love them.
Yeah.
Can never repeat them. But anyway, and then so you got in trouble, the 9/11 joke, which spurred the Aristocrats joke, right?
Oh, yes.
So it was like 3 weeks after 9/11. Was that the timeline?
Yeah, it was a really short time. As a matter of fact, there was still smoke in the air in Manhattan that was drifting around. And I went on stage, and it was like, a few days, maybe 2-3 weeks after September 11th. So the entire world was kind of shocked by this, and particularly New York was in a daze. And
you probably too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody was. It's like, I remember I had heard about it. Someone had called me and woken me up and said, "Oh, do you hear what happened? The World Trade Center's gone." I thought, "Oh, yeah, all right." And they said, a plane crash into it. So I thought, like a lot of people did, that it was like some single-engine plane crashed into it. Now they're going to have to repair a couple of windows.
Right.
And then first I turned on the TV, and then I got no reception on the TV. And so that was the first sign. Then I was
How far away were you?
I was not very, very far. I couldn't see it from where I was, but I wasn't close enough to. But I was, close enough that I was getting the fumes of that place.
Right.
And
Still got some by the sounds of it.
the what?
You still got some by the sounds of it.
Oh, yes. You were supposed to cut that out. You promised you'd have that cough button. And so everybody was in it. I remember my favorite thing was around that time the Emmys were coming up, and they said they were saying they might not do the Emmys out of respect. This is too frivolous. But then they decided there's too much money in the Emmys. So they decided people would dress down, meaning that if...
That's respectful.
Yeah. If Pam Anderson wears a jacket, then that'll prove it's respectful of the people who died. So I went up and I told this joke. It was at the Hugh Hefner roast. And I said, I can't stay late tonight. I have to catch a flight to L.A. I couldn't get a direct flight. We have to make a stop at the Empire State Building. Mm-hmm. And this got gasp and booze and
Any
hissing.
laughs?
No. It was like the worst reaction any comic could have gotten.
What did you expect, though?
I guess who knows? But I wanted to be the first one to tell like a truly awful taste September 11th joke. And then it's like if you said I was on stage for 2,000 years, after that joke and just standing there, I'd believe you because that's what it felt like. And then I go into The Aristocrats, which is about, parents fucking their kids and kids blowing the family dog, and the audience is screaming and howling.
You got them back.
Yeah, terrorism's bad, but, incest and bestiality is fine. Go with what you know. And also I remember when I had said the September 11th joke, one guy yelled out famously, "Too soon."
And not ironically.
Yeah. I thought it meant I didn't take a long enough pause between the setup and punchline.
He's critiquing yourself.
Yeah. But it's so funny. I would love to find out who yelled that out because now it's become like a joke.
Yeah, that's right. Anytime anybody says something about Christ,
yeah,
too soon.
Too soon? Yeah. It's like, yeah. And this
So
guy,
that was the first instance of it?
I think so.
Yeah. Interesting. And so that really, it launched The Aristocrats and the movie.
What I remember, too, is
Saved your hide.
Some guy wrote about it. He talks about how the audience was kind of like in a daze before that joke. And they said that afterwards, he said it was cathartic and he said it was like I had performed a mass tracheotomy on the audience. Like now they were breathing.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah. That was a good thing. And it's better than performing Botox on the audience.
They already had that probably,
Yes.
yeah. And then the tsunami joke.
Yeah.
That was the same day, wasn't it? This was a Twitter.
Yeah, that was a Twitter. And
last year, I guess.
Yeah. And once again, anybody who has ever seen me on TV or on the radio or at a club is not going, wait, Gilbert Gottfried said something that was inappropriate?
Yeah.
And so I was handling the tsunami the same way I handled September 11th or any other tragic incident. I turned it into a joke. Mm-hmm. And then that became an outrage. And, well, especially now with the internet, it's like, forget it. It's like now there's a new villain of the month each time.
Yeah, but this cost you your job.
Oh, yeah. And it's something that I when I think about it costing my job, I always think like, they had already been complaining, saying, well, this is costing us a lot of money and we could get him replaced before this joke was ever told.
Oh.
And conveniently, they turned it into a big ad campaign of you can be the voice of the new duck. You could be the new voice of the Aflac Duck.
Oh, there was an open call.
Yeah. And they were advertising it on TV and the internet. And then they wound up hiring someone to imitate me who they paid a lot less money to because that brought closure to the people of Japan.
Yeah, so somebody sounding just like the guy who insulted them.
Yes, but they
What
paid...
about, couldn't you sue them and say, no, he's using my voice?
Yeah.
So people think that's me, and it's not me.
Yeah, and that's the two things everyone says about it. Number one, that they pretend they were so shocked they would have to have been living in a cave not to know the type of stuff I do.
Yeah.
And then they're saying, oh, we want nothing to do with him, but we'll use his name to get loads of press or being outraged by him, and then get a guy who imitates him and so it'll, if you were that outraged, get someone who sounds totally different.
You had to apologize, but you feel there's a place for that dark humor in times like that, right?
Absolutely. It's like I feel like, at funerals, like you'll see people get up to the podium and speak, and inevitably they'll start going into like funny, embarrassing stuff that happened between them and the guy lying in the box.
It's cathartic.
Yeah. And it's like you'll see people sitting at the benches, like looking at each other, and one will say something with a smirk, and the other will cover their mouth and be doing like, going, oh, no, stop. I don't want to laugh now. And it's like, I feel it's like not even a joke. I feel like when Christ was on the cross, there were people in the crowd cracking jokes. Not everybody, but there were probably people making jokes about it. And it's like, I feel like comedy and tragedy are roommates. And if there's tragedy around, comedy's looking over his shoulder, sticking his tongue out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read an article online somewhere. I don't know if it was in England or Australia. They were saying the media, which I'm part of, is trying to kill comedy because now you're getting, as you mentioned, the villain of the month.
Yes.
But a reporter will see a show. They will report what somebody says on stage as if it's serious.
Oh, well, that's the
Tracy
best.
Morgan had problems, and happens all the time.
Like mine was, like with me, it was like, oh, he's attacking the people of Japan who died in the tsunami. That's his purpose.
Yeah.
That's his crusade.
You hate Japanese people.
Yes, he hates Japanese, and he's like spitting on their grave. And it's like, no, I'm a comic making a joke. Mm-hmm. And it's like the first thing that the media did that I noticed that was part of the trick is they wouldn't say Gilbert Gottfried was on Twitter making these jokes. They said he was making these comments and remarks. It was like they always referred to them as comments and remarks.
Yeah.
Because if you say our top story tonight, a comedian makes a joke, people are going to go, yeah, that's what comedians are supposed to do. So they made it comments and remarks. So it's like, ooh, he said this. He really wants to hurt people.
Yeah.
It's just like when on shows when they'll bring out like a kid who has two heads. And it's like the premise of the show, it really is a freak show. Like, look at the kid with the two heads. But instead of saying, look at this hideous freak, they'll go, oh, look at how courageous this child is. And it makes it okay.
Kind of does.
Yeah. And it's like, so with any time I've gotten in trouble, like with the tsunami or the September 11th, people, they go like, we're shocked and deeply offended by these horrible comments he made, and then they'll play it or they'll recite it. And you go, well, if you care that much about the audience and you think this material's so inappropriate, then don't play it. Don't say it to them. But they condemn it, and that makes it okay for them to say it.
Yeah, manufactured outrage.
Oh, yeah. I've always felt like with newscasters and TV hosts and commentators, it's like, first of all, it's great acting. It's like they should get Academy Awards for acting. And that is that they act like every story affects them personally. So it becomes like, coming up later tonight, a family dies in a fire. And can monkeys roller skate?
Sad but true.
Yeah.
We're quickly running out of time. I could
No,
talk
that's
to
my
you
career. Thank
for
you.
hours, but I have to pick my son up from school. And,
Boy, I've never gotten a blow-off like that before.
it is true.
I'm sorry. I think I left one of the lights on at home.
Hey, now you have 2 kids, right?
Yes, both of them are black.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now you're an old dad like me.
Yes.
And Mark Breslin I had on a month or so ago, and he is a new dad, and he's also, he'll be 60 this year, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a 1-year-old or something crazy like that.
But he looks 90, so it's okay.
Yeah. So is this something that you want to do? You always thought you'd like to have kids, or?
I still feel like I'm waking up in a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, because
it's just so strange. I feel like it's like every other Twilight Zone episode when you wake up and you go, oh, what's the date? And they go, well, July 3rd. And no, the year, 1807.
who are these kids? But it's good?
Sometimes. It depends
That's why
what
you like
day.
going on the road?
Yeah. Well, it's
So you have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, is that right?
yeah, you start to appreciate going out on the road by yourself.
Yeah. So, Gilbert, really, though, the kids might be listening one day to this podcast.
Yes.
You might want to say something loving.
So they'll be the only people who will hear this podcast.
Ouch!
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, do you ever think about that? How filthy your act is when you have these young kids?
I can't say to them, oh, don't say that word, because, I can't say it with a straight face anymore.
But you never think, maybe I won't.
Yeah. No. It's like I can't say, oh, don't say that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any more kids in the future?
Yes, there'll be kids in the future, and
for you,
with me, yeah. I don't know about that, but in the future, I think. But they'll have like horns growing out of their heads, and they'll be able to fly.
Well, excellent. I don't know where to end.
Yeah,
but,
so you
I
should
have to pick up my son.
Yeah, well, we'd like to talk to Gilbert Gottfried longer, but I wanted to clean the stove today.
Not true. Not true. You, as a parent, would know.
Yes.
Although, do you pick up your kids ever?
No, because I've got a bad back. Thank you, but I want to tell you.
You're here all week. Please tip the wait staff. Yeah, Yuck Yuck's Comedy Club here in Vancouver. He's here in Vancouver for the first time, as far as he knows.
Yes.
And hopefully he'll be back again soon.
Yes.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Okay.
Was that fun or what? I had fun. Hope you did too. Thanks to Gilbert Gottfried for sitting down and talking with me. And, part of the rider was I had to go out and buy him a dollar store rubber sink plug. One of those round things for $1.25. I don't know why. It's kind of odd, but I did it. And he just tweeted tonight that his agent took 10% of it. Anyway, thank you. And next week, shows keep getting better and better. Nikki Glazer will be our guest, so tune in.